Hello viewers, thank you for joining Dimpa's Lounge, Sunday the 30th. Big apologies for the delay, we had a slight technical hitch, which we've managed to solve now. I'd like to welcome everyone to Dimpa's Lounge. Today we're talking about domestic abuse, domestic violence, something that is really and not just within the Ghanaian community, but across the board really. So many people go through domestic violence and domestic abuse, and something that it was really passionate for me to speak about this last week, and we wanted to follow it up as a part 2 and talk a bit more about domestic abuse and why we should talk about these things and not brush them under the carpet. My name's Elizabeth Kwarting-Amanin. Most people know me as Lizzie. And
my name is Isaac Asare Manu.
And my name is Michelle J.
Wonderful. So today we have a young person who's come on the show, so her perspective on domestic abuse from a young person's point of view. She'll be talking to us about the kind of things that she understands about domestic abuse. Now, I actually feel that it's really important that even children understand these, so they don't end up in the same situation or circumstances as maybe some adults have been through. But I'm going to kickstart this with big apologies from Dimpa himself today. He's actually behind the camera, believe it or not, and he's doing a really amazing job, and he's put me forefront today, so wish me luck. And I think he'll be directing to tell me where I'm going right and wrong. Wonderful. So welcome to Dimpa's Lounge, Isaac, and welcome,
Thank you.
Michelle.
Welcome.
So just tell me a little bit about what you know or understand about domestic violence. I think I might come to you first, Michelle.
Domestic violence is where people are assaulted not only physically but emotionally within their own homes, which is why it's called domestic violence.
Yeah. Wonderful. Just enlighten me a little bit about that. What kind of things can contribute? What are some of the contributing factors?
Mental illnesses such as depression, PTSD or anxiety can not only come from the victims, but the children could face some of those problems as well.
That's really amazing. And if I turn to you, Isaac, yeah, just sort of enlighten me a little bit about your understanding, and if you know any examples of domestic abuse that maybe you've seen.
So many of domestic violence and abuses in our homes and various, even in our workplaces. It could be the fact that you're being belittled all the time, people making you feel like you're smaller than what you feel of yourself to be. It can also cause that I claim as an abuse, because it can bring your self-esteem down. It can make you not perform as well as you should be doing. And also could be sometimes financial abuse. If in case I have a partner wanting me to spend my money how I spend it, because obviously I'm the one earning it, that's also can be classified as an abuse. But one thing I say is abuse can only become abuse.
That's true.
Imagine if I'm abusing you, giving power, that means you're accepting what I'm doing to you. But if you voice it out, then something can be done about it.
Absolutely. That's really important that we actually highlight on things like that as well. So I think it's really important that I really actually raise this particular question. I believe that a lot of men go through domestic abuse, but like sometimes we've kind of got this culture that men don't cry, men don't speak, so I man up about these things. What are some of the factors that you would think that men will go through, and why don't they talk about things like this, i.e. domestic abuse?
The reason why we don't talk about this is, especially in talking on men are told that men are supposed to be the leaders. If I'm a leader of the house, how therefore can someone abuse me? As a leader, you're not meant to be abused. And the reason why we don't talk about this is at times we feel shameful. At times we feel like a lot of other services will get into, like social services will get into in case the kids are involved and whatnot. So we just bottle it. And at times you bottle so much things in you, it can only affect your health.
That's right.
So as a man sitting here, I will say to the viewers, especially because abuse, it's better to confide in somebody and then talk about it and get help or get advice from that person, and then something can be done about it. But bodily means not going to help you, neither is going to help your family.
Absolutely, and I think it's because of our background and the culture we come from. We see men as the head of the family, so I think sometimes you feel like, well, if I'm the head, I can't show that weakness.
That's right.
But I just think it's really important that one finds, or even if you want to go to like some of the professional bodies that can actually sit with you anonymously. They don't know who you are. Right. They can't judge you, can they? And perhaps that's a way forward to start going for help, because if we don't talk about these things and we bottle them up, the only effect it can have on us, really, is the mental health issues, which again is something we don't tend to talk about. Wow. So I think it's a really good point that you mentioned there. So Michelle, if I just turn to you for a minute. So just tell me a little bit about, I mean, even if it's a scenario or anything that you know that to do with domestic violence that you probably think, look, actually this is wrong, it's not acceptable. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
I heard on the news with a case that a man had a girlfriend and she would constantly hit him, and he didn't really see it as domestic violence until like one day he woke up with her hitting him in the head with a hammer.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and then that's when he decided to go.
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm stressing the importance of men, particularly, having the voice to talk about some of the things they go through. Because, listen, when you don't talk about these things and you bottle them all up, it can have a detrimental effect on one's health. So all the men out there who are watching this program today, please, we've got our number, which will come up on the screen. We've also got our email address. You can also email us or call us and talk about how abuse, whether it's financial, whether it's domestic, whether it's mental, whether it's, verbal. I mean, that's also a very important point that I'd like to make, because some of these verbal, the words that people use sometimes.
Because words are very powerful.
Absolutely, can have a real big impact on someone. I mean, as a survivor of domestic abuse myself, I can only talk from a point of view where, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even discuss mine with nobody until I got out of the marriage. The first one was more physical, and the second was more verbal. So for me, it was like 14 years of this trauma. It's only when I left the marriage is when I was able to talk about it. And I've always said to myself, I don't think anybody should go through this, because sometimes I still live this, the repercussion of it. Like you think of it sometimes, and even when you're with a new partner, even, you sometimes think, oh, what if? But that mindset shouldn't be something that I shouldn't really go into another relationship with a what if. Right. You see what I mean?
Would you say you're suffering from PTSD? Possibly,
yeah. Because I don't think I really reached out for the help I needed. I felt, well, it's one of those things you kind of live on and you carry on. Until I went for counselling, actually. It's when I realised that, oh, there is help out there and I can tap into this. So, as a human, it's only, sometimes you just feel a little bit like, oh, what if? But, it shouldn't really be like that. And I'm really actually talking to the viewers as well as us being on here. If you feel like there is, the after effect, which is known as the repercussions of it, again, seek help. Because the help is there, Yeah.
Something that I really want to add to the viewers, and that's what I was saying on the panel, that most of the people that really do get abused, at times they've been abused from childhood.
Yeah.
So once they get to the adulthood where they're being abused, they take it as normal.
That's right.
But believe it or not, it's not normal.
No, it's not.
Because nobody is supposed to be abused. Because why should one be abused?
That's right. And to be honest with you, I mean, growing up in my household, there was love, there was care. I mean, my dad was the most amazing father I can even think of. He's so amazing. God bless his soul. But it's where I never got that kind of father figure to kind of say to me, look, if somebody lash out at you or somebody say something to you, don't accept it. Because I never really saw that in my home. I didn't really know how to handle it, you see. And to be honest with you, I've always said to myself, it would never happen to me again. That's something that should never, ever.
It shouldn't happen to anybody.
Exactly.
No matter who you are.
Exactly, yeah. So let me just move on to some questions here, which I've done a little bit of a research. And I think I'll come to, maybe if I go to Michelle, what are the mental health impacts of domestic abuse? What kind of factors do you think could actually have an impact on someone's mental health well-being? And I've got some statistics here. 40% or domestic abuse will have a high risk of anxiety, depression. Yeah? Would you want to add a bit more to that for me, do you think?
With depression, it leads to suicidal thoughts and low self-esteem. Because when you're being emotionally abused, most times your abuser wants your mental state and how you feel about yourself to be so low to the point where you only rely on them.
Yeah.
Instead of you relying on yourself, or you going to them to make decisions. And another thing to happen to you is you end up with insomnia, and if you can't sleep, then you start to hallucinate, and it takes a toll on your body as well. Yeah.
And this is a young 16-year-old who's actually got these views about DV. And you know something, parents out there and all viewers watching, don't just think that, look, because domestic abuse is perhaps more an adult thing. Children who live in that household have could have a huge impact on them. And I think it's really amazing that we've got a young voice here today to actually things.
Abuse.
And abuse is abuse, full stop. And I think particularly in our culture, I think we tend to think, oh, that's a child. We're not talking to them, or we feel that they don't know what's going on in a home. What can then happen is that they take it outside. They go to outsiders for help. I mean, would you agree for that with me?
Yeah, I agree. The reason why I agree is how we are brought up back home here is different to how our kids here are brought up. Where we're brought up back home, even in the sitting room, we're not allowing visitors come. Whereas here, they're just in and out. They're very outspoken. We were not. We were always backed off to any expression whatsoever. But here, we thank God that we're here and we're talking about this. Those that are here that are listening to us, don't give us don't give our kids the treatment that we got back home. Let them feel free, let them express themselves. So when they go into relationship where they're being abused, obviously they can voice themselves out. But because how we're brought up, it's very difficult. We feel shameful to come and say, oh, my wife did this or my partner did this. To get other people involved, we don't want to do that. So please let our kids be free, let them feel free to express themselves, and obviously if they're going through something like that, then they can talk about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Michelle, thank you for that. It's really, really awesome. Sorry guys. So domestic abuse has a significant psychological consequences for the victim, including anxiety, depression, suicidal behavior, low self-esteem, inability to trust others, which I think is a key point, because just because the first one didn't work out or they behave in a certain way,
the reason why you feel like because you put all your trust in that person, and if that person is abusing you, how therefore can you trust somebody else because initially you put your trust in one before? You can't trust the next person.
Yeah, which is why I think it's really important to go for counselling. Because from that point, I mean, you can't paint all human being with one paintbrush.
Yeah.
I was going to say you can't paint all men with one brush. You can't paint all women with one brush, because paintbrush rather. Because
we're all different.
We're all different. You know, it's just that sort of trust to say, actually, it's okay. This is a complete different new person. Maybe I can learn to move on from here. Yeah. You know, the flashbacks, and you talked about sleep disturbances, didn't you? Yeah, and emotional detachment. So I'm just going to move on swiftly from here, and I think some of the things that we again don't speak about is things like post-traumatic disorder. So you know, you've been through something, it's quite disturbing, and then we don't talk about it, we don't do anything about it, we think we can handle it.
You keep it in.
And then what happens, Michelle, do you think?
You start, like most times when you keep something in, you stress yourself a lot instead of keeping it out and letting people know what's going on, and then that leads to more mental illnesses such as depression can come after that, because you are isolating yourself from several other people who could possibly help you.
Yeah.
And also you do isolate yourself from the things that you do to make you happy, which is like mingling with people, going to parties. You detach yourself from all these abuse, and obviously you you don't feel yourself to do anything that excites you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very true because again, I'll come back to my experience. I actually lost all my friends because this individual man was all about just me and you. So I lost my friends, and I know that someone watching this probably going through what I've been through, and please don't accept it. It's not a good thing to isolate yourself from your friends and your family. In fact, to get up in the morning, to get up and get myself ready for work was the problem. I just lost all my self-esteem whatsoever. Everything went.
The reason why these perpetrators do this, because if they don't get your friends away from you, they know that you stand up for yourself through the advice of your friends. So in order to do this, to just capture you alone, they try to knock you and your friends' head together, and they have you, so therefore they can keep on abusing you. Yeah, so that's the only reason why they do what they do.
Yeah. Well, viewers that are watching, honestly, I can't even stress this enough. If you're going through domestic abuse, whether it's financial, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, yeah, please, the phone lines will be open very soon. Ring us. We'll be able to direct you to the right organization, or you can speak to our therapist at some point. Email us. It's really important. Try to live this alone, because it's totally not acceptable. So that's one thing I wanted to add. And I mean, there's a research that was done in 2003, and it states that, I think it was done by the Crime Prevention Survey, and it says between 30 to 60% of psychiatric patients have experienced severe domestic abuse. A very good friend of mine works in one of the top mental hospitals. When you come there to that particular ward, predominantly women who have honestly trust in their partners, and obviously because it was all DV and all sorts of things, they've ended up in the psychiatric unit, and that's how severe this can be. So anything you'd like to add to that, Isaac?
What else can I add? My advice to viewers is, or even including myself, to advise myself that are not normal. These are crime. It's a criminal offense to abuse somebody. So if you feel that you're being abused, please, you can, like I said, our phone lines will be open. Phone us, we can then advise you the necessary steps that you can take. Other than that, if you feel that you know any other step that you can take upon yourself, don't sit at home. Don't be there to be abused. Just take a step and call, and then we can direct you.
Absolutely. Michelle, anything you'd like to add to that?
I think that people who are abused should get very close with their kids, and because they are so isolated and are dependent on the abuser, their kids will be the only one who could really go out there and confidently get help, because they are alone. With a child, you can go to a teacher at school, or you can go to the police with confidence.
Yeah. Again, very important topic we're talking about today, which is domestic abuse. Please do share this, the Impets Lounge. Share it, please. Comment on it. Ring us when the phone lines are open. Don't feel threatened. Don't feel scared, because it is us we keep going on about acceptable. I don't know, back in the 60s or 70s, our parents might have stood up for this. But right now, this is 2018. This is not something that you should be sitting at home and dealing with it by yourself. Speak to a friend. And I'm just going to move on swiftly to our pastors in the churches. Perhaps speak to them. I know in the past that some of the pastors will actually say to you, let's pray for you. I mean, prayer is good. Would you agree, Isaac? Would you agree?
Action.
Prayer is good. But
action is the most important.
Yeah.
You need to action and then receive the prayers afterwards, because without action, the pastor can pray to you no matter what, or no matter how many times, because you haven't taken action and steps. You pray for you go back home, it's still continuing. So you need action.
That's very true. Domestic violence or domestic abuse, so to say. What was really scary is picking up the bag to go, because you've got children in this relationship or marriage. You've got the financial dependency, in my case, because I was the stay-at-home mum looking after the kids. So one thing that you kind of say to yourself,
that you have these two weaknesses.
Absolutely.
Which is you've got the kids. Financially, if you left, you'd be struggling. So they know what is in their heads. So therefore they can continue until you can sort those two issues out and stand up for yourself. It would have continued no matter how long.
Very true. That's very, very true. I mean, when it got to a point where I felt, enough's enough. And it was either my life, I would have lost my life completely, or do I leave and just hope for the best? And the best thing I could have ever done was walking out of that marriage. Yeah. Michelle, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I feel that just because they've hit you once or they talk to you in a certain way once doesn't make it ever acceptable. You have to go because maybe it may be the one, but several more are to come. So just get out as possible and as quick as possible as you can.
Exactly. And also, I mean, look, in this country we're so fortunate that you can actually call 999 for help. Don't sit there thinking that, I know a lot of us think, oh my goodness, how can I report my partner hitting me? But why not? Because to hit someone is just not actually right, is it? So if that's what it comes to, then you'd have to dial that 999 for help. I don't know if many people know about Clare's Law. I mean, I wouldn't go into it right now. And it's a domestic abuse situation. Stayed. Eventually she lost her life. And there's now a law in place that one should not be putting up with things like that. Yeah.
So it can start small, then it generates. It goes on from something small to something minor. Before you know it, it's bigger. And what do you do?
Exactly.
You're not going to wait till you can't afford to leave. Just leave as soon as you feel that you are abused, you are being abused, just get out.
Yeah. And always talk. Our phone lines are now open, and the number is 0044 7944 346 025. Sorry, 028 rather. My bad. I'm sorry. I'll repeat that again. So the phone number is on the screen as I'm speaking right now. So 044 7944 346 028. So please do give us a ring and share your story with us if you are going through domestic abuse, or if you know someone who's going through domestic abuse. Do ring us and we'll see how best we can support you to live a very fulfilled, happy life. Okay, so whilst we're waiting for the phones to ring, there are other surveys that were done. Are men more likely to report domestic abuse?
No, men are less likely to report domestic abuse. The fact that, like I said at the beginning of the program, men don't like to open up to the problems that they're having at home, it being abuse, it being whatever that there is. But women are freely to talk to their friends and get help. Men, we like to hold on because we feel like we're the leaders. We are meant to stand as men. Why do you need to go and tell anybody our story? So we keep it in. So men are the least to report those kind of problems.
So moving forward, how do you think they should handle this?
Right, and moving forward, I advise men, including myself, that if you feel you're being abused, step up for help. If you feel like you confide in somebody for that necessary help, just do so. Don't just sit and accept it because it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I think this macho-ness about men don't cry, it's kind of outdated a little bit now, isn't it? If you feel like crying, I think you should cry, don't you?
You should cry, feel free.
Yeah. And also, through that, you can speak to friends who you can trust. Because remember, sometimes when we're in such a vulnerable situation, we feel like we can talk to people, but it's not everybody you can talk to.
That's right.
Because sometimes if you're not careful, that particular person might kind of actually use it against you. So find someone that you feel comfortable, someone that your gut feelings connect with, and maybe share your experiences with them. I mean, if you know any sort of young friends of yours that are male, perhaps this is some of the things that you might want to tell them to voice it out. Yeah. So, Michelle, about school bullying, is that what I've got there? Yeah. Would you say some type of school behaviour? Sorry, rather than bullying. Yeah. Do you know friends of yours of your age group that might have spoken to you in the past about domestic abuse that's going on in their homes?
No one's told me about any domestic abuse. But I do get some cases where my friends tell me about them having to leave their parents' houses because they are being abused, and then the school has to get involved and help them out.
Yeah, which again is very important. It's very, very important that we speak about, no matter how old you are, you know, it's not domestic abuse isn't just an adult thing, children as well.
Everywhere, even including animals. Abuse.
Exactly, abuse, and I totally agree with you. And we're going to put a stop to that, aren't we? I can't change the world, but this is a beginning of something. Yeah. And I would urge anyone who's watching, who wants to share their domestic abuse with us at Deempers Lounge, you can be anonymous completely. You don't have to say what your name is. You can, I know sometimes in this sort of situation, people don't want to really share their story because it comes across as it's a private thing. So if you don't want to say what your name is, that's fine.
If it come across as you're weak.
Exactly, yeah.
That you can't stand up for yourself, you need somebody to help you stand up. But don't feel that. Just call us, like my sister said, anonymously, and then we can try and help you.
We can try and help you, yeah. So the phone lines are open, and I am waiting for a few calls. Ring us on 044 if you're calling from outside the UK, 0044 794 346028. And as I speak to you right now, I've got the phone in my hand. So as soon as it rings, we'll pick it up and move on from here to the next. And we can discuss some of the issues that you might be going through in terms of domestic abuse. So there are some shocking statistics here that since 2002, the percentage of domestic abuse incident involving a male victim and female perpetrator has increased from 9% to 2003 to 17% in 2011 to 2012, and the numbers are still growing. So it's very, very alarming, isn't it? Yes. And to be honest, these are just the ones that have been reported.
Yeah. Many of them are not reported.
So the ones we don't know about, it can have a detrimental effect on one. So again, I'll come back to post-traumatic syndrome disorder.
Why do you think some of these cases are not being reported?
Do you know what? Sometimes it's a cultural thing, because people feel like, well, if I say something, then I'm weak. From a man's point of view, not a man, but perhaps from some of the men I've spoken to. Sometimes as well, if you've grown up in that environment, that's all you know. So you don't see it as wrong. You see what I mean? But where it becomes quite serious is that if you've grown up in a home not knowing it's wrong, you possibly grow up doing the same. Yeah. So
that's all you've seen.
That's all you've seen. That's all you know.
Youth, so you think it's acceptable.
Exactly.
Or it's normal.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think from that question, that's what I'll say. But we're moving forward. It's 2018, and things like this shouldn't just be brushed under the carpet.
No.
We should speak about all these hidden sort of inverted commas, things that we're ashamed of. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Because if you think about it, it's not just you, the victim, that's affected. Especially for kids at home, young boys, they're also being affected. And if you're not careful, they're also going to be grown into accepting that abuse is acceptable, but it's not.
Absolutely.
So please, let's be careful and help ourselves here.
Absolutely. And about how amazing Deempers Lounge is, because it's very educational. We come forward, we talk about things that we would normally talk about, but we're here to, and I mean the slogan we've got is tell it as it is. We're not going to be brushing things out of the carpet and what's going on and sugarcoating things, because that's not a way forward. Would you agree with me on that, Michelle?
Yeah, I highly agree. Yeah. If you sugarcoat it and you don't see it, you don't deem it as an issue, then several more people will be suffering and suffering and suffering. And the end is not as beautiful.
I mean, I know of an incident where this is about maybe a couple of years ago, and it's a very famous female preacher who went through domestic violence, and I think in her case it was never really spoken about until it was publicly out there, and everyone was like really shocked at what she had lived most of her life. you know, to a certain extent, it was, I think our phone's ringing. Is it ringing? Okay, no, we haven't got a call coming through. Before we had a caller coming through. It was really important that she should have spoken about this. Unfortunately, it was all sort of hidden until it blew up in public. And it was such an eye-opener for some of us. And now that we have platforms like Deeper's Lounge and all the other platforms that are there, we can talk about these things. You know, we can definitely speak about them. So again, our phone lines are open. Still waiting for a couple of calls. The number 0044 7944 346028. Okay. Right. Okay. So there are some alarming statistics, to be honest with you. And last week we touched up on some of those. And if I could just maybe ask you this, Isaac, in terms of financial abuse, how would you define that?
How would you define that? If I have a partner as a man, the partner is working hard, money is coming from both in her money and spend mine freely, that's an abuse. Because you're working hard, you want to spend your money freely. How about your partner?
That's right.
That's an abuse to start. Another abuse in it is the bills in the house. If you're expecting your partner to pay for it all, and then you also go out and just enjoy it with your money, that's another abuse right there.
Yeah.
So it's all about how you see it as an abuse.
Yeah.
But it's this an abuse, not for you to enjoy the fruit of your labor, but somebody's enjoying theirs and then.
Yeah. I mean, I know of an incident where the female was more taking the income from the male, but he never spoke about this. He just saw it as, because she's like the woman who kind of organized everything in the home. She saw it as not. He saw it as not, which wasn't. So as a result of that, I mean, their marriage fell, and he realized that he didn't have a penny to his name.
Because there comes a point in time in your life that it's only so much you can take as a human.
Absolutely.
But this is what, if you're not careful, you overtake it. It brings like stress, all sort of things in your health. That why should you say wait till that opportunity comes? Yeah.
But I think maybe some of our viewers, or even for me, it's only recently that I learned about financial abuse. I didn't think that it was part of what they call abuse, but it's only recently that I learned that, and I thought, oh, that's really I mean, I thank God I've never really been through a situation like that, but for those who have been through it, I mean, now you know, and you realize that it isn't acceptable, you know, for us to live in that particular way. And also, if I can move on swiftly to like children abusing their parents.
Yep, how they speak to them, yelling at them, swearing.
Exactly. You know, and because you're the parent, you tend to kind of think, well, you know, what do I do in a situation like this? Michelle, let me come to you and let me come to you and ask you a few questions around that. You know, I mean, what are your views on children that abuse their parents, to be honest with you, which happens?
I haven't heard a lot about children abusing their parents, but I know about children like manipulating their parents, as in like, oh well, you've done this, so I want to go out and so and so. Like, I've seen a lot of parents have become a lot more lenient. So you see children will be out about 12, and they'll only be about 13 or 14 years old, and they'll be outside by themselves. So yeah, I think parents need to be a bit more strict and just not let their kids manipulate them.
Yeah, sometimes it's emotional, isn't it? It's that emotional sort of way, because like from mum's point of view, you gave birth to that child, so you feel like, well, actually if they want it, I better give it. But then if you're not careful and don't draw the line, what happens is
there's going to be a barrier.
Absolutely.
Where they don't step out the mark, because once you let them step out the mark once, they're going to do it again and again and again. Before you know it, they're out of control.
Exactly. So even though we're talking about domestic abuse here, part of that is also some children abusing their parents, because it's not all about adults doing it, but also children can. And when I talk about children,
clip that was circulating around the social media. I think it happened in America, where the child was in the shopping mall with the mom and was swearing, and my body actually started 7, be that to a mother that's giving birth to them, which is not right.
It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at all. Parents, if you're watching and you're going through a situation like that, our phone lines are open. Give us a call. Our best we can support you with Isaac, and also from a child's point of view, Michelle, where we can take the next steps to be able to help people. Also, we're asking for sponsorship for Dimpa's Lounge. It's such an amazing program. It's very educational. We're bringing what we do at Dimpa's Lounge is things that nobody wants to talk about. We feel confident enough to come to a social media platform to share this. So we are looking for sponsors to sponsor this program. If I must share some good news with you, we were donated some money to be able to support this, and the chairs you see here was somebody kindly, a total stranger, who donated to the program. His name is Roy. Roy, thank you very much for the donation that you gave to Dimpa's Lounge. We've put it to very good use. Our beautiful leather 2 chairs here. We want to say thank you very much for the amazing work and support that you've given us. And we are looking for sponsors. About what we're doing, every little helps, as Tesco's will put it. It doesn't matter how small it is, we welcome all the sponsorship. Because this program is a program that I can see going really far. Would you agree with that, Isaac?
I certainly will, because it's part and parcel of our lives. We don't want to talk about this where we see it happening. We want to talk about it with action where we see people being abused come off from that situation. And sponsor us so we can elevate a bit more.
Absolutely. And obviously the more we get the sponsorship, the more we can, have a better equipment, we can have a better more people. What's amazing with social media is it doesn't matter where you are. You could be in, I don't know.
It travels really far.
Yeah, you could be somewhere in, I don't know, as far as you can be, and you can still tap into this. So we are looking for sponsorship. So please, if this program touches your heart and you feel like you can help and support, do email us at the email address we would mention very soon. And also you've got our phone numbers there. And actually, I forgot to say that we're actually on WhatsApp now as well. So if you feel like, I can't ring, but I want to send a message, you're more than welcome to join the WhatsApp group and share your story with us. We will always keep people anonymous. We wouldn't mention your name if you don't want it mentioned. I've come to a point in my life where I don't care what anybody thinks anymore in terms of my past, the things I've been through. I believe that the more I share my story and the more you share yours, Michelle, what you know about this kind of...
the less people are going to be affected.
The less people absolutely, the less people that are going to be affected. So Dimpa's Lounge email address is dimpaslounge at... Again, the email address is dimpaslounge at gmail.com. Do email us with your stories so we can make it a better place. Together we can bring change. That's what I normally say on this program. Yeah. So again, today we're talking about domestic abuse, domestic violence. There are some shocking, alarming statistics that we've shared earlier. And I think I'd like to maybe come to Michelle actually and just say that I know you're talking about anxiety, depression. Maybe tell me a little bit more about what it may be, what one may be feeling when they're going through anxiety, from a young person's point of view.
When you have anxiety, you're constantly worrying at all times. Like, let's say I drop my water on the floor, I'll panic and I'll start feeling confused, and you end up with panic attacks and shock. Yeah, you loss of breath, and this affects you in a big way because you don't have the confidence to do a lot of things, or you're too scared to do a lot of other things as well.
Isaac, what's your take on that one, the anxiety and low self-esteem?
Well, the anxiety part of it makes you're going through a lot of sleepless nights. There are times that you feel like I've been through it before myself, so I can freely talk about it. it's like the times that you're supposed to even get up to go to work at the most times that you even want to sleep.
Yeah.
The reason being because you haven't slept overnight. Your body is sleeping, but the mind is far away from the body. So by the time you realize you need to go to work, it's the time that your body feels to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's the anxiety part of it. But then it can also lead to depression because you're not of yourself most of the time. So you're stressed out. You don't do the activities that you love doing because of the stress. So please, like I said, we're here to help. I've been through it myself, so like I said, I can really talk about it.
Yeah.
I've gone through sleepless night. Times I felt like to end my life, and I just the least I would like to wish on anybody to feel the way I felt in some part of my life.
Yeah. So just kind of moving on from there, I'd love to ask you a few questions in terms of domestic abuse from the men's point of view.
Or the men abusing or the men being abused? The
men being abused, and both. In fact, both. So if you could touch up on the men being abused and the men abusing women, that'd be really, like, I'd love to hear a little bit from your point of view.
Right. I have not experienced abuse per se from any partner, or rather me abusing anybody. As a child growing up, as fathers do sometimes, they do certain things that you feel, as a father, why should you be doing this? So more time the men are abusing their kids more than sometimes they're abusing their wives.
Yeah.
And the reason why sometimes some of these men do it, because they feel like if the woman do something, for me to, obviously they can't abuse the woman, so they will do something to the child, abuse the child, so the woman therefore will come in and say something, they'll flip it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it happens a lot.
Yeah.
In most homes. It can also tend to the fact that because the man is so in tune with the child, the woman then will abuse the child for the father to come in, so then she will have a chance to get at the man. So we really need to be careful when kids are involved here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because times we're playing the kids against the other partner, which is right.
Really not right, honestly. I mean, the depression side of it. When I finally decided to leave, I did go through depression, and I did go through anxiety, and to the point where I went to my doctors and I said, look, I think I need help. The only thing that I wasn't very comfortable with is the drugs they prescribe for depression. So I didn't really go the drugs route, but I kind of, I think I spent a lot of time in the house of God, and I was more prayerful. But the anxiety part of it was really, really serious, to the extent where I was shaking at some point, and I couldn't even go to work. That's how serious it was, you know.
On my way here, I was listening to many things that we touched on, which we haven't touched on, which is sexual abuse in a relationship. Or maybe you make into our part 3.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
But as we've got a minute or so to end, maybe in our part 3, God willing, I'll be here to go
to touch
through
on
it.
things like that. Amazing. So, Dimpers Lounge, we have almost 2 minutes to go and the program will be done. Next week's program is on gun and knife crime. As we all know, it's something that's in the news constantly. It's been in the news for some time, but I think particularly last week there was a video circulating on social media. A young boy that is a DJ, Ghanaian boy. My heart bled. In fact, I was at work, and when I was at work, but it was my break, my lunch break, and when I took a look at that, I said, "Mum," I had tears running down my face. So next week program is on gun and knife crime. Please tune in. Join us at Dimpers Lounge. We have special guests who will be coming here to talk about gun and knife crime. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Isaac for coming on the program. Thank you very much, Michelle, from a child's point of view. What you shared with us is really important.
Right. With this knife crime and gangs that is going to be talked about, no matter where I am, I would like to be part of it. The reason why I had a personal experience of it, not personally as in me being a victim, but a boy that I knew growing up from the age of 9 to 23 was done. So I would like to take part in it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, viewers, for watching Dimpers Lounge. We see you next week, same time, same place, between 3 and 4. Thank you.